All this and more. The Self-Evident Podcast. Welcome to the Self-Evident Podcast. You got Massey. You got Mike. Yeah. We go ahead.
You.
We've got one today.
We got a doozy.
We got a doozy.
In the midst of all the chaos and stuff that's been happening, we got the... I'm trying to be Christian here. We got the nefariously wicked people. I'm sorry. It's the truth, though. It's so wicked what's going on down there at the ports.
Dude.
So we need to talk about it.
And if you're a ports union guy, you're probably not going to like this episode, but that's okay.
Well, we love you.
Because you feel you have the right to hold America hostage for your contract.
That's right.
We have the right to criticize you for it. So, game on. But before we do that, do not forget to go to theselfevidenttruth.com, get yourself a shirt, get some merch, and by all means, pray about becoming a torchbearer.
Yeah.
Become one of us.
So you see down there below, we got our visit our website tab. We got a little QR code now. Ooh, we're so advanced.
Get the
we have that.
code.
And then also, too, again, we got some really cool merch, some neat designs coming out that are really kind of who we are, right? So we're excited for those designs. We also have this shirt. Everybody's forgetting. We now made them in short sleeve as well. So now we're phasing out of the long sleeve. They sold well, but we're like, hey, I think short sleeves are the way to go. So we have that, and also in this color as well. So those are our new ones. If you guys have not gotten those, please go to theselfevidenttruth.com and pick one of them up because they're awesome.
Those are cool shirts.
Yeah, and so to kind of round this off, we didn't do forgive us too. We didn't do a podcast yesterday. We just weren't. We were in and out. You had some issues going on. Yeah, you had some issues going on at home, and your favorite Mexican history guy had some things going on as well. So we couldn't do a podcast yesterday. So we're coming in with a doozy today.
Well, we're here. We are here for you.
And these dadgum ports, man. I tell you, there's something to be said about wickedness that can overtake a man. Instead of like coming together as a country, we got the port president or the union president down there basically say, I'm going to put my foot on your neck, America, and you're going to listen to me. It's like literally a kid throwing a tantrum.
That's a good way to put it. Is like, and I think what disgusts me the most is he sees the advantage he has, and so he's going to take advantage of it.
Right.
He's going to use it to his full lever, and he tells himself he's doing it for the union guys. Yeah. He's doing it for the guys he represents.
Of course he ain't.
But and we've got video of him doing an interview, and I think we should do this off the bat. So let me preface, okay, what's going on if you have not heard the news. The ports along the East Coast and into the Gulf, the people working those ports are run by a union. And that union, their contract finished Monday at midnight. The company that employs them and the union could not come to an agreement on negotiation. So they're going on strike.
Yep.
It happens between unions and companies. Now, if I want to get into my whole union thing, that's another debate. But all of this in context with the entire Southeast region, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, South Carolina, parts of these states are completely underwater. Whole towns have been wiped away. Bodies are in trees at the moment.
Dude, it's crazy.
And of course, America can send hundreds of billions of dollars over to Ukraine, but we can't seem to put together a very cohesive rescue and supply chain operation because somehow, we lost the ability to have advanced logistics for an emergency.
Exactly. And I think, too, this is where you see, I did share something on my page earlier on the Facebook side. This woman who was like, she goes, the Lord showed up in ways we couldn't show up. So it was down in North Carolina, right? Just an example. These are just everyday lay people who had some equipment, that they had. And she goes, we needed some kind of a mover. All of a sudden, this guy's like, hey, do you need help? Out of the blue. And then we needed volunteers to clean up this in this person's house. And they were like, hey, we're not doing anything. Do you guys need help? We're just passing by. And then she said this guy's wall was blown out. All of a sudden, this contractor shows up and said, "Hey, I'm kind of knocking on doors. You guys need anything?"
that's
She goes, "The
awesome.
Lord totally showed up," and it's like that's America. That's the Spirit of God. That's the whole unity part of a nation, right? That's what gives me hope that America can still continue, because I really believe that there are more than 7,000 that haven't bowed the knee to Baal. There's more people that aren't wicked, and there are people who are praying for our country. But I said this last night. You ever feel like you're taking one step forward, and then all of a sudden you see stuff like this, and it's like 2 steps back? We're like, God, because they get the airtime. I just saw yesterday, and I'm going to do a video on this. Dunkin' Donuts won't support Rumble because they're too right-wing. They wrote in a letter. So it's like, I can't drink Dunkin' Donuts now.
What?
Dunkin'!
You were ours.
I'm dunking you.
Dunkin'.
But you see, like, the media, like these people, these wicked people are in these president positions in these companies trying to do the DEI stuff and all this other stuff. And now you have this pork guy going, like, what, like, you see what I'm saying? So, like, the spirit of America is trying to be underdone or overthrown by the media, by these people in position.
And I think I was saying to you, I might have even said this on the podcast, that it's really tough for me because when I hear about a case come out, just some random case, my immediate thought is, who'd they make mad?
That's right.
It's not about justice. It's not about who did what.
That's right. The mayor of New York.
Yeah,
why is he under attack? Why wasn't what's his last the Cuomo guy?
Yeah.
Why isn't he put in any investigation?
No.
Don't tell me there wasn't anything shady going on in his administration. But this guy stands against illegal immigrants, and bam, he's got some kind of federal indictment now or something like that. I don't know what it is,
they're searching all of his aides' houses and his people around him. It's corruption and finance charges. That's because you couldn't make the sex stuff stick. Which you would have.
I will say he is more conservative than people thought he would be.
Yeah,
he's got that kind of tinge to him, and I think that's what it is.
And I really wonder if a big part of that is not just that he made the wrong people mad, but there's somebody waiting in the wings that they would rather have
replace.
In place.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, they did it with Cuomo, right? Now, of course, all of that got swept under the rug. Of
course
and
it
that got
did.
dismissed. But then who got put in charge? Hochul. And Hochul is insanely crazy.
She's just as bad, if not worse, than the governor of Michigan right now.
Oh, dude.
What's her name?
They're Whitmer.
Whitmer. Dude, they're
piece of a pod, man.
Dude, I mean, I thought Kamala, whatever, because I'm trying to get it right. I'm trying to get it right, just out of respect.
You hate black women, even though she's not really black.
We all know she's a trained Marxist. She's a socialist, all that stuff, right? She believes in all that stuff. But those women, bro, it's demonic.
It really
I don't care
is.
what you think of what I just said. Blast it, cut it up, put me on a hate list. I don't care. Those women, dude, the way they run, Cuomo was too. Like all that whole that whole ilk, bro. Newsom, you don't do this kind of stuff and overthrow a nation that gave you that opportunity because you think it's a good idea. There's something driving you, dude, and it's inside.
Isn't it funny how Newsom, he just looks like a bad, evil guy in a movie. You know what? Like he's got that like stereotypical evil guy,
hair.
Greasy look to him.
He's definitely a California Trudeau. He's got that Trudeau kind of vibe to him, you know? Anyway, going back to the port thing, though, like, because I'm sorry, I'm trying to, and because in our brains, I don't know if you've noticed this in our podcast, we can go, because I have, and he's got, and then he's got to follow and then I got to, you know, stick with it, okay? Stick with it.
Let's play this guy's video because I think this is a great way to top this off right away. So you want to
what is it?
Cue it up.
Scene 7 or 8?
It's 7.
Let's do that. Let's get her. Let's get her.
Watch the volume because sometimes the volume's like way cranked up on it.
These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port a lockdown.
Wow.
These people today don't know what a strike is.
Just trimming on restream.
When my men hit the streets,
Now it'll roll.
from Maine to Texas, every single port a lockdown. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you.
Listen close.
First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes.
I just got to pause there. I was pausing it before, but I'm going to pause it here. I want us to get this right now. He's literally telling you what's going to happen if they close.
Right.
He has no care that he will be affected eventually by this. He has no care that America's affected by this. He has no care that his own family's affected by this.
No.
It's about him. Dude, that's demonic.
Yeah.
It is literally demonic. It's satanic.
And do you notice he is describing all the people that will get laid off and lose their jobs because he is holding America hostage in this situation, because he sees the lever of power he can hold, and he can point back at the company and say, you're not negotiating with me. You're not completing this contract. It's all on you.
You know, it's funny too, like this shows you too, do politicians have all the power? Think about it. Right? If this guy can say what he says, and he's got the ability to pull some things, and they can remove him too, obviously. There can be some things done. But me and Mike were talking yesterday. Look, I'm Mexican, bro. I grew up working in bean fields and beet fields and those kind of things, right? You know, thank God, my parents pulled me out of that to have a better life. But they did it for a while, and I worked with it for a few years in it. Hire a bunch of illegal Mexicans down by them ports, bro. I'll tell you what. Hire a bunch of Mexicans down there, dude. I'm telling you what.
Get $25 an hour.
$25 an hour, dude.
Your cargo will move 10 times faster than it ever did.
If we're gonna
with
let
the
them
union.
vote in Arizona, now this is all satire, okay? This is all satire, right? But if they can move 30 units in a day, I promise you that Mexicans will do 60. We will not have a supply chain issue in America. We let them guys. I promise you that. Sorry, but it's true.
This is satire, but there's a part of me that is like, you know what? If those illegal immigrants would do it, let them vote. Let them vote.
But it's satire.
But it's satire.
Listen, you know what we're saying. Anyways, back to the video.
Do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship.
Listen,
They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in.
This is wicked,
The steel's
isn't
not
it?
coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the company's money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
Does that not sound like Governor Whitmer?
Dude, he's a freaking mob boss, man. He is a mob boss.
I'm just like, okay. I'm trying to gather my thought here. What he's saying is, I'll cripple you. I'll cripple you. I'll cripple you. That if you thought, and there, I have friends that are in unions, so I'm not speaking against unions. I don't like the union method. I think it's strong arm. I think it's bullish. I think it's
kind of like holding a whole nation hostage.
Yeah, I do see the obviously the plus of it. You know, is better wages, fair condition, better working conditions, the benefits. I totally get all that. But when you can do that, though, that's where it's like, okay, how much authority did we give these guys to hold that? Like, where's the federal government saying, yeah, but that's again, is that a state's issue? Is that a federal government issue? Like all these things, you know, because like, and again, who are they hired by? Are these just businesses that are under the union? So then where does the union come from to get their orders, and who can override that if something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all that messy stuff.
And honestly, I look at it and it's like, you know what? To me, it is kind of a federal issue because this is really a national stability issue.
Yeah, it's a GDP issue.
Yeah.
It's a
bring the army in. Let the army run logistics on it. Fire them all. Nope, no contract. Fire you all. We'll bring in the military, and the military will do it, and we'll hire right to work. We'll hire scabs. You know, and it's and of course, I'm sure if anybody's listening or watching this that is like longshoreman union guy or agrees with it, you're probably pulling your hair out. You don't understand.
Right.
You don't get it. We're not paid enough. Let's back up the train just a little bit.
Yeah, you got some cool stats, dude.
Yeah. So the ILA, they're demanding a 77% pay increase and a
God.
ban on automation. They're afraid of automation taking their job. So, of course, this ban would result in no automation being done, which is the union way. Okay, the union way really is what is the most inefficient way possible to do the job in order to keep the one guy's job. It's just true.
It is.
Right? Why make the system more efficient? Because then that means somebody might lose their job, right? And supposedly the average longshoreman contract earns $39 an hour and they want to up it to $69 an hour. Now, I was looking this up and there's a lot of different numbers. You're seeing a lot of different numbers. I've seen as high as like $147,000 with $35,000 in benefits.
That their salary is, right?
Right. So let me read really what I have found because this is a big deal. If they're making $35,000 a year, hey, I'm with you. I want you to get a raise. Now, some of the guys are earning lower amounts, but the average base salary for longshoremen in the U.S. ranges from about $59,500 to about $70,000, with an average base salary of $63,000, which is above the national average, actually the national median. According to another source, the average salary for longshoremen in the U.S. is about $56,000, which is about on average of everybody else. Historical data from 2015 suggests that about half of West Coast union longshoremen make more than $100,000 a year, with some earning over $200,000 a year, and a few bosses making over $300,000. We'll get to the bosses in a second. 2018 article reports that the average dock worker makes $147,000 annual salary and pulls in $35,000 a year in employer-paid healthcare benefits. Now, you're seeing all kinds of numbers. That's why this is tough, because you're seeing some people like, no, they don't make anything, and others going, they make a ton. and so the average appears to be around $63,000 or base salary, or $56,000, or it's the other way around. $56,000 total pay, 63. Anyways, I can't read today. You get the gist. So let's say the average really is about $63,000.
Yeah.
I get it that, hey, you want a raise. I get it. I get you probably want some protections against your job being given to a robot. The problem is when you come out hard and fast like this, you know what you're telling the rest of the world? Really? Time to automate. And you've watched unions do these strong arm tactics, and it happened in the shipping industry, not even a year ago. Companies went under because the unions tried the strong arm tactic of, we're going to burn this ship down if you don't give us what we want. Well, guess what? The company went into bankruptcy. Y'all lost your jobs. And this is where it gets really frustrating, because now, when he said that, the hurricane hadn't happened yet.
Right.
So we give a little bit of grace in that sense. What's frustrating is, and I saw union guys saying this, contract was ending, you couldn't avoid this, it was the company's fault, the greedy corporations, it's all their fault. Wait a second.
Right.
Why couldn't, if our federal government can go, okay, we're going to extend the deadline, we're going to do 2 more weeks or whatever, why couldn't this guy come out and say, look, I care about America, and what happened with the hurricane, look, I want my contract, but I'm willing to work with the company for 2 weeks. We'll work until things settle down, then we're going back to the table. And you better have something good for me. That actually gives him support and encouragement from the rest of America. But if you hold fast and you're like, nope, we're striking, well, now all of America looks at you and goes, you are greedy, you are evil.
Yeah, you're selfish and all that stuff. And I think, too, like, had he done what you just said, like, say, I'm just going to stay over for a couple weeks, I want to help America through this, not only would people look at as sympathetic, they would be like, dude, go get what you're worth. We get it, man. We're America, bro. Like, get what you're worth. I mean, we see NBA players and NFL players, I ain't capping on their salaries, dude. If that's what they're willing to pay because of their TV deals, they're drawing in the numbers, fine. People complain about it. It's like, hey, dude, they're the ones working. They're the ones getting paid. You can complain all you want, but the teams are willing to pay those guys that money, right? I'm not going to hate on that. I'm not going to hate on that at all. So it's like, we would be behind you, and people would pay, to do that and be willing to. But that's where it gets really like gross, is when they take their supposed authority and say, we're going to strong arm you. And that's when Americans go, you know what, dude? Screw you, dude. Up yours kind of. It's kind of the vibe. You know us. We're not the doomsday doom and gloomers. We've never been like that. But I did tell my wife, you may want to go shop a little bit more this week and stock up on some non-perishables. I don't know if you got anything to that, but
yeah, did I put it in here? Yes. So they're already noticing that people are panic buying, which makes sense because people have heard
toilet
about
paper
all this.
against COVID. Anyone?
And so a prolonged strike could cause major disruption to the domestic supply chain, according to American Farm Bureau Federation economist Daniel Munch. He said, for international destinations, waterborne exports are vital to us farmers, Munch said in a podcast on Thursday. They make up over 75% of total U.S. agricultural export volume. Potential strike that we're looking at would mainly disrupt containerized agricultural exports, which account for 30% of U.S. waterborne agricultural exports by volume. The remaining 70%, often grains and oil seeds, are shipped via bulk containers, which are usually managed by independent workforces and will not be affected by the strike. Said U.S. farmers could be particularly vulnerable to a strike that lasts a week or more. Strike could have disastrous impacts on U.S. agriculture depending on how long it lasts. Disruption to overall agricultural trade is expected to be about $1.4 billion each week the strike is in place. When we think about what commodities are at risk, nearly 80% of waterborne exports of poultry leave East Coast ports, 56% of raw cotton, 36% of red meat, 30% of dairy products, even 6% of soybeans all go through those ports. And people are already rushing to get water and food, and there's images of store shelves being emptied. And I think what really concerns me about this is, and we'll get into this guy in a second, this Harold Daggett, who gave that rousing, enthusiastic speech of America First. And what they don't get is
your wit, dude. Your sarcasm sometimes.
He thinks he understands. Oh well, this will cripple the used car salesman, and this will cripple the malls. It's like, do you realize the financial system, economic implications of what you're trying to do?
Right.
Like, do you want to be the man who toppled America in a single step? Do you really want to be that guy that runs that risk?
Gosh, dude.
Because if agriculture falls out, now all of a sudden we've got a massive part of America that is on the ropes. And the dollar itself relates to how our economy is doing,
That's
our financial
exactly right.
system.
And
all
is that the pull here? Is that the pull? You're seeing a lot of different posts about this hurricane, and there's lithium that's found and all the quartz and everything. It's like, what's the pull here? You know what I mean? We don't know. Why devalue the dollar so much? Our value of dollar has just took a dump, especially within the last 4 years. But terribly that countries are divesting from the dollar. This will cripple it even more. And, my wife was asking me yesterday, like, she goes, do you think all that stuff runs through ports, like what we buy and everything? I was like, not everything, but we even get produce from overseas. There's a lot of things that come from the ports because we're an import-export type of country. Well, I think we depend too much on foreign governments, for sure. Because we want to pay less prices as we gouge people. It's weird. If you don't know economics, this is why it sounds so weird and it's like kind of boring. But it's really not. When you look at the nitty gritty, man, these people know the ploys. That's why he could say confidently what he said.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I run everything. It's through me now. He's literally assumed the control of King. That's what King George was doing to the what was it? The taxing, the taxes, the tea tax and all this other stuff.
Molasses Act.
Yeah, all that, dude.
And,
the Stamp Act, all that stuff. That's all King stuff.
Yeah. And let's take a look at this guy because he's just a winner. So according to Politico, Daggett, the ILA's president, he earned, it was a paltry $728,000 from the union last year. Man, and another $173,000 as president emeritus of a local union branch. So he's struggling, guys. He needs help.
He just needs
a raise.
What's his last name?
Daggett.
Daggett. He's about to let her off.
You know what? Now I know why he is the way he is. Because I'm sure his childhood was a very rough one. You know what, brother? I take it all back. My heart goes out to you, brother. I get it.
What? You know, you ever think as a Christian, how far can you go? You know what I mean? Like, they flirt the line of jokes here, you know?
So the New York Times said the union boss, now this was previously, he doesn't currently own a 76-foot yacht called the Obsession and drives around town in a Bentley.
Narcissism, anyone?
Yeah, no.
The Obsession?
Oh, and by the way, he was acquitted on RICO charges. Okay, so you can't hold. He's not a criminal.
What are
he
RICO
was acquitted.
charges?
RICO is racketeering. So
That's right.
like usually the mob and that kind of thing. Now, there small asterisk. He was acquitted after the main witness against him, mobster Lawrence Ricci, was found decomposing in a car trunk in New Jersey. Complete coincidence.
I'm
guys.
sorry. I'm not laughing because the guy died. It's how you did that. You're just like, just Clinton, anyone?
No.
Star witness about to come out and expose it. And he died last night, suddenly.
It's completely normal to commit suicide by 2 bullets to the back of the head.
Because, I mean, that's how every guy committing suicide does it.
And it takes 2. You need 2 of them. Especially when it's suicide.
Wow. This is,
So, you know.
do we have a video on this? Is it that yacht? Oh, no.
That's a picture of the yacht. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to show you. This is the Obsession. Why is it not showing?
Should. Not showing up.
Mm-mm.
Double click. Oh, goodness. Are we still recording?
Yep.
Okay. Mine disconnected for some reason.
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay, cool.
This is not showing up, dude.
Huh. Well, let me tell you, that boat,
She looks pretty.
it's a pretty boat.
Pretty bold. Well, anyways, so again, what to do? Again, we're not doom and gloomers. I'm
No.
just saying, be smart right now, okay? And I can hear the prophets now. We told you it would happen around October, September. Yeah, 4 years ago, 10 years ago.
I was going to say that exact thing. Like, yeah, we've 4 years running. We've heard that prophecy. So good on you for finally nailing it.
Yeah, and of course, we all know this kind of crap happens. It happens because this is how nefarious government is and all that stuff. What do we do about it? Guys, this is where we need to get involved. Like, when's the last time you've seen a union president actually be honest? And do we bust up unions, you know, and create a different kind of faction? And again, this is where it's like it gets really dicey for us because we could tell you all the action plans. You have to put the action plans into place. I can only tell you what to do, and I would definitely do it if I was in a union. I know I would do something, run or try to become that president or something like that. And I know a lot of you would say you'd never get it. Well, you don't know. You don't know the power of God. Will William Wilberforce anyone? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, come on. It's definitely doable if that's what God wants.
Right.
But then, too, it's like, do you need to be in a union that's going to act like this? Can you trust the Lord that union is not doing his will? It's not his good. You know what I mean? I even said this last night at an event. Like, do you trust the Lord with your job to call out the compromise?
Yeah.
It's like, I can't stand for this anymore.
And is that who you really want to associate
Exactly.
with, right? Like, and look at the teachers' unions. Do those teachers really want to associate with a person like Randy Weingarten, who's, I'd say insane, you know, like, and I get the argument for the unions, but of course, then immediately the argument becomes for the unions, greedy corporate fat cats. Well, you're not doing yourselves a whole lot of favor in this situation of presenting yourself as anything but greedy, because your whole aim and level at the corporations is they don't care about people.
Yeah.
They only care about profits. Well, you're kind of proving to America. Now you can explain it away to yourself when you're alone at home at the night. You can tell yourself you're doing a good thing and you've got a clean conscience. That's fine. But the way you look at the corporations is exactly how America is looking at you right now. Because all of America is going, now, right now, we got Iran shooting missiles at Israel, which everybody's afraid, like, okay, are we getting pulled into World War III here? We're sending billions of dollars over to Ukraine. We have a hurricane that levels and disappears entire towns like a mob witness.
2 bullets to the back of the head. I mean,
and
suicide.
now is the time that you think you're going to hold America hostage
Right.
and cripple an entire economy to get your way. You kind of look dirty in all of this.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude. And again, this is why we do this, and we're exposing this wickedness for a reason. But also, too, if you don't think government thinks like this, they think exactly like this.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they're getting these ideas from. You can strong arm me, I'm going to strong arm you. That's exactly how they think. Instead of, hey, you do me good, I'll do you good. It's not about that anymore. It's about strong arming. It's about who's got the authority, who's got the leverage. You know, John F. Kennedy once said, he goes, if we're strong, we don't need to brag basically about it. He said, our strength will speak for itself in our quietness. You don't need to go around telling people about it. You're strong because people know you're strong. You know what I mean? And so, like, that flex shows his insecurity. It shows the demonic nature of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And so, and it bothers me that we even have to talk about this. But that dude should be removed, man. That's not the spirit of the union that it should have been.
Right.
And again, you guys can all tell me it's mob boss stuff. I totally get all that. I'm saying, is that the spirit you want running this organization?
Exactly. And that I agree with you. Like, when I first watched it, I was like, that's demonic. Like, that's evil to the core. Outright evil to the core, because flat out what he said was everybody else is going to lose their job so I can get what I want. Now, I get it. You can tell yourself you're fighting for the 45,000 longshoremen or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're willing to put at risk 340 million people for your 45,000 longshoremen.
Well, for your pay increase.
Right.
For your benefit. You mean that is the definition of selfish. That is the definition of pride. That is the definition. And what does the Lord hate? These 6 things the Lord hates, and he despises 7, but he says a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. All that stuff is happening right now in our country. All these specific sins.
And the Lord is patient, but judgment comes, man. Like,
Judgment comes because he's allowing us to get eaten up by our own fruit, our own devices. I mean, literally, we think our economy's bomb. We're borrowing like crazy. We're eating moldy fruit.
Yeah.
Is what we're doing. We think we're being fed nutritious stuff. We're literally taking insulin shots right now, it feels like, just to keep us alive.
We're being poisoned.
100%. And I'm talking about spiritually and hypothetically, like in a euphemism sense. So again, what do? I think right now we pray, obviously, but stock up on some things that you're going to need.
Yeah.
Be smart. And if you can have extra for your neighbor, because maybe sometimes our neighbors won't. Some of them aren't on social media. We got a lot of elderly people around us. We need help as the church. Be the church. So you got to be smart.
To your point, and you mentioned it earlier, as far as like the hurricane and the stories and all that stuff. It's important to remember that the Lord can still provide. The Lord, he has his hands on everything.
I like it.
And so instead of panic, faith and reliance on him. Seek him out for provision. Seek him out for what his hand is on. Because you would be amazed, like you were saying, the stories. You know, I tell the story of Mueller when I speak. And I didn't know this until recently. There was one time where George Mueller, if you don't know him, he raised orphanages. He was taking care of orphans in Bristol, England. He ended up raising something like $14 million in today's currency. Never asking for it, always by faith, right? Always prayer and faith. People would just donate, that kind of thing. Never borrowed, never asked. There was one time there was no food in the house, so he grabs his wife's hand and she's like, we're going to pray. And of course, there's a table of starving kids, you know, they're waiting for their food. There's no food in the house. Grabs his wife's hand, prays. As soon as he gets done praying, there's a pound on the door. He goes to open the door. The baker has a bunch of bread just baked, and the baker goes, I felt like I was supposed to bring all of this over here. I was supposed to make this for you. So cool, man. God provided bread. Baker gets in, sets the bread down, whatever. There's another knock on the door. Mueller goes back, opens the door. There's a milkman there with a bunch of jars of milk and goes, hey, my carriage broke down. My wagon broke down right in front of your house. Can you guys use this? So those kids had fresh bread, fresh milk that day purely because he prayed. And your story of like contractors just, hey, you need anything, people coming out of the woodwork for each other, like that's the faith and reliance that we have on the Lord. And so we watch this type of stuff of like the store shelves are emptying and I won't be able to get food. Be a good steward, store up a little bit, take care of your family in the way you need to, but never lose that faith and reliance on who the Lord is and what he can do.
We have a similar, we got tons of those stories, but there's one that always sticks out in my head. As a ministry, there was, when we flipped our truck and trailer, we had an insurance issue happening, and they were going to charge us $8,000 because they wouldn't cover the large tow truck that had to flip our trailer over, our RV or whatever. It was $8,000. I'm like, dude, we were just starting out. It's 2017. We started in 2016. We don't have that kind of money, as a ministry. And I didn't want to go to donors for that. I just thought that's just ridiculous to ask for $8,000 to pay an insurance bill. So my cousin, his name's Orlando, he was on our board, and he says, we're going to fast and pray, and God's going to take care of this bill. I will never forget that. We all fasted, we prayed, and dude, that guy's got faith for days, man. Yeah. They call us on July 4th and said, guys, your bill's taken care of. Don't worry about it. It's a pleasure doing insurance business with you guys. Thankful for you guys. Hopefully you guys are okay, blah, blah, blah. It was done. Wow. I was freaking out. Because I was like, what are we going to do? Then they call on July 4th.
Right.
I'll never forget that. And I was like, Lord, only you on Independence Day set me free, like from that. And there's always, we got tons of those stories, dude. Just recent ones, what happened in Texas and just like God delivering and showing us his hand and all those things. And it's like, I still need more faith, man. Sometimes I'm like, Lord, how are you going to get through this one? I know you did that last month, but how are you going to do this? But still the Lord comes through.
Yeah.
He comes through and we trust him. And it's hard to trust him. I was just telling you yesterday, he's removing my dependency. Everything I thought I was going to preach, he's removing all that. It's like he's taking all that out of me and doing a whole new thing. And I don't like it because I like being in control, man. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
It's easier. I know where to go with it. And with you guys, maybe you're dealing with the same thing. No matter how bad this gets, no matter how wicked this guy is, no matter how wicked government is, there is a God in heaven who's laughing at their plans. We were talking about Micah earlier today, Micah chapter 2. And it was talking about how you get up early on your beds and devise evil. I'm about to go evil on evil over you. That's what the Lord said to these people, these leaders. You want to go steal your brother's property? You wait. You go ahead. Because what I'm going to do to you and make it public, and your enemies will sing songs over you for what you did. I believe that. That's the same God of today, dude.
Yeah, don't fall into this like, oh, well, Jesus came, so God doesn't do any of that anymore. Man, be careful. Be careful.
Yeah, I don't ever see that he says, I quit doing those things.
And
nowhere.
If we're going to say he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, that means that it's the same God that was in the Old Testament. And he's, the covenant doesn't change how God interacts with people on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't change justice.
Right. And there's a scripture in the New Testament, forgive me, I don't know where it is, I can't remember where it is, but it says, in flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not God and obey not the gospel. He's coming back as a lion, dude. He's no joke. You can't mess with God's kids that long without some kind of retribution from the God of heaven. Because he's going to take care of his babies, man. These people, these atheists think, oh, there's abortions and kids dying of cancer. He's got them up in heaven. He's watching out for them. You know what he says to the wicked, though? It's better for millstone hung around your neck. Because you're destroying these little... dude, y'all could call me crazy. Y'all could say I'm full of a conspiracy and God's not real. Man, I sure love depending on the God of heaven who's answered my prayers. That's for darn sure. I love the God of heaven that sealed me by the Holy Spirit of promise, man, and who still speaks to me, who convicts me, who keeps me in the way. I like that he keeps me honest and that I need to keep my word and I got to be full of integrity. That's the kind of God I serve. It's not one of them wishy-washy type things, man. So these people, they can be as wicked as they want. We can sit and cry and decry all the wickedness. And I feel like the Lord's like, yeah, focus on yours too, though. You know what I mean? Like, make sure your wickedness is out of you. And so all the stuff that's happening, our answer is this, man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. He'll direct your paths. I know that sounds cheesy, but you do that, and then you be smart. How can I get involved to change this, Lord? What do I have to do? I was telling a pastor last night, he said, why do you preach on what you preach on? I said, I'll tell you why. I said, you notice that Christian filmmakers, there's nowhere in Scripture that says you should be involved in filmmaking, in the arts. But we praise Christian filmmakers. I do. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Sports. The only time really kind of games are mentioned or any kind of physical activity is, to me, in the New Testament when he says, bodily exercise profiteth little. And he talks about running a race, right? The whole thing. So sports are mentioned. But we praise people for that discipline, that whole thing. But there's really no Scripture about it. Business, there's about masters treating your servants well, that kind of thing, your bosses. But not really any Scripture about business owning. However, there's chapter after chapter after chapter on government, and it's on the Lord's shoulders, and that he creates law, and how we're supposed to work with government, and what its purpose is. Chapter after chapter, and we don't want to talk about it as a church. That's why I talk about it. Because we've been deceived into thinking that this is all just going to go away if we just trust the Lord. Get involved. That's the only way something's going to change.
Yeah. And the whole reason it is the way it is because guess what? We didn't do our work. We didn't do what we needed to do. So I think we probably nailed this one to the wall. I'm sure some of you probably aren't happy about it. Go on strike.
And we'll see you Monday. Or Friday, actually. Friday.
Yep. Love you guys. Have a great week.